Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Husky. Welcome back to the Cut Podcast. I'm here with our special guest.
Matthew Fernandez, the founder of RFG Academy.
And today I'm going to be cutting his hair and asking him those deep questions that you won't want to miss, guys. Check this out. All right, Matthew, for those who don't know you, I'm just going to have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you a little background about myself. So growing up, I was an athlete. So I played like baseball, football, very high levels, and I always really wanted like more out of life. Like I wanted to be like something bigger than the typical person. Unfortunately, due to injuries, I had to like really change up my career path and really find something better for myself. Started off with trying to become a doctor, studying pre-med. Didn't really work out because it wasn't my passion, and I came across the idea of day trading back in like 2017. Started off in 2018. Really used that to really kick myself off and propel myself. Got involved in the network marketing space. Use both those industries now to become really a serial entrepreneur where I'm in a place now where I just want to help, give back, basically make the biggest impact on the world possible. That's really where I'm at right now.
So, what do you think, like, since you started off as I guess you could say, like, pretty high level athlete, right?
Yeah.
What values do you think, like, being a very high level athlete actually helped you, like, till this day? Like, what do you think it improved?
I think like athleticism and entrepreneurship is linked. Like if you were ever a good athlete, you can transition pretty well into a good entrepreneur too. Simply put, because when it comes to athleticism really comes down to delayed gratification, work ethic, drive, determination, all that kind of stuff. That's what really makes a good athlete. And I think the same kind of principles apply to university, right, or to entrepreneurship. So yeah, I agree.
So, who are some like athletes that you like can say are like good entrepreneurs and athletes as well?
They're both.
Yeah, both.
So I guess I'll segue into something else. Like I grew up into like studying entrepreneurs, and where I grew up started studying athleticism and basically not even realizing I was studying it. Like I had athlete role models that I looked up to, people like Derek Cheater of the New York Yankees, people like Matt Sundin of the Leafs, people like Troy Polamalu, and all these guys. I really fell in love with their leadership because their leadership was the thing that attracted me to sports. I loved like leadership itself, and I really transitioned that, becoming an entrepreneur that leads now hundreds of people all around the world. I transitioned the same skills that I had in, I guess you could say, the business world, or in sports to the business world, if that makes sense. And then when it comes to like athletes that I personally like look up to as entrepreneurs, I think the biggest ones would be like people like LeBron James, because he's like someone who's an athlete and he owns so many businesses. Like he owns Blaze Pizza, he owns so many different businesses while he's really building his athletic career. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like when you were a kid,
Yeah.
did you think you were just gonna be like a crazy athlete, nothing like close to what you are right now?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I would have never expected to get into day trading or like investing, like crypto, all that kind of shit. Like, if I really, yeah, there's no way. Like, growing up as an athlete, I always thought like that was gonna be my path. Um, I would literally spend hours on my craft every single day, just working on my swing, working on everything. I remember like outside my old house when I lived with my parents when I was like 10, 11. Every single day I would go outside and spend like 2 hours just swinging the baseball bat
Really?
over and over and over again. And yeah, like I really thought that was going to be it. But at the end of the day, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and like basically God gives you your own plan, right? So it's just a purpose at the end of the day.
Is it because your parents were like heavily into sports as well, or you just like fell into that?
So my dad was, so growing up, like my mom was the more school focused person,
Yeah.
and my dad was more like the athlete kind of vibe. He wanted me to become the athlete. So with my mom, I had to do really well in school, and I focused on school, and I did pretty well in school, right? I was literally about to become a doctor as well. That was like my other potential career path. And then my dad was the more athlete side of things, so he kind of pushed me and gave me the, I guess, athletic genes, you could say, to really do well in sports.
Okay. And do you have like any siblings that like motivated you, or like no siblings? It was just like
So
specifically?
I have a sister. I don't think she really motivated me per se, but the competitiveness was definitely there because like, I mean, having a sister, obviously, like you always want to like take care of your family and make sure they're good. But I think with her, it's just like we were like very competitive growing up, to be
Oh,
honest.
really?
Like always competing in different things, having fun with it, but still competing, you know?
Like, what was the funniest thing you guys like remember competing over?
So I remember back in the day we used to play like hockey in our basement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and basically it would be my dad and my sister versus me.
Oh, just like
And
2v1?
yeah, and when they would win, I remember I'd be just getting so competitive. I'll get so mad and like I'll be like, "You guys cheated," blah blah blah. So I definitely yeah, that was like probably the funniest memories. But growing up, we always used to play sports together. So my sister, my dad, and myself would always play like sports with a few of the neighbors on our street and stuff like that.
So how close are you to your family like till this day? Like, do you think that connection's still there? It's like you guys are really busy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely way more busy for sure. So from a timeline perspective, I'm not, I guess you could say, as close per se, like as in I don't have the same amount of time. But overall, like I guess the best way to describe it is like we have that same kind of vibe, like in terms of like competitiveness, fun wise. I'll watch like sports with my dad still, go out with my family still as much as possible. It just definitely busy. But at the end of the day, like they're obviously one of my biggest whys and the reason why I do this business and the reason why I am where I am today because obviously they continue motivating me and inspiring me.
So do you think like in terms of like motivation and stuff,
Yeah.
would you say your family was like a bigger motivator for you, or would you say it was like something else pushed you to be better?
I think the biggest motivation for me was like just seeing the life that most people live. Like waking up every day, dreading going to work, basically wishing they could find something else to do, but knew they'd had no better option. I saw the average person was living that life, and I just realized that that can't be me. You know, like that. There's no way I could see myself doing that for the next 20, 30, 40 years. That was my biggest motivation. I just didn't want to live a life of basically depression, of pain. Like I wanted to live a life where I was happy and I had my own freedom. And I really thought that if I followed the typical path, I wouldn't be able to. So I knew I needed to find a different path, you know?
So would you say like either in your family, like when you were growing up, or friends, or anything like that,
Yeah.
were there any entrepreneurs that you were that kind of like started that vision for you, if that makes sense, or like helped like inspire you?
That's a good question, bro. I mean, I don't know actually. Like, no one really in my family had that route or was following that route. Everyone in my family was more like 9 to 5, normal route. I think the lack of entrepreneurship is what kind of motivated me. And I remember seeing like in my early stages, like the freedom that some of the entrepreneurs that I met when I first started in the industry had. I was like, that's what I want, you know? That's what I wanted. And I just wanted to find those people that had what I wanted, if that makes sense.
So would you say like out of like your entire journey, like who was your first like big role model, if that makes sense?
Hmm. That's a good question, actually. I think I think my first like I think being an athlete or like a former athlete, my first role models were definitely athletes. So looking up to people that really led with the right intentions, and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say I had a set role model, but I had a bunch of like people that I admired for their work ethic. Like I remember in baseball, I had this guy named like Vernon Wells, who was on the Blue Jays. I really looked up to him a lot. Um, and then also I looked up to like people like I guess around me that um, that had the drive and work ethic basically that I wanted. So I wouldn't say I had like a set role model that had everything I wanted per se, but I did have a bunch of people that I took the good and left the rest. I think, and that's the most important thing. You never want to kind of idol someone. I feel like because then you don't become your authentic self. You want to take the best out of a bunch of people and then leave the rest.
So even though like obviously like you dreaded that 9 to 5 life, thinking about it like now or when you were like starting off, what what like things from the 9 to 5 life do you admire? Like what are like some traits about it that you're like, you know what, like that part actually teaches you this or
Yeah, I mean, I think the work ethic is important, right? Like, remember when I started this journey, I was working 3 jobs, right? So I experienced it all, right? I was working as a line cook at Swiss Chalet, I was working in a research lab, and I was working as a baseball coach, like 9 to 5 every single day during the summer. So the one thing I think it taught me really well was discipline, because it allowed me to be structured on time every single day, 9 to 5. I knew what I had to do. I knew what time I had to wake up at. I knew what time I had to go to the gym at. Everything was built on a set schedule, so it gave me more, I guess, structure in my life. Where now, not gonna lie, my life is pretty unstructured, to be honest. Other than like the morning gym session, the rest of my day is pretty, for lack of a better word, spontaneous. Like I do what I want when I want, which is good. But sometimes, obviously, that structure is a good thing, you know.
so what do you think is better? Like spontaneous or structured?
I mean, living a spontaneous life, like obviously, I personally like it, but I see the pros and cons to both, right? Like the structure is nice, you know, it is pretty nice.
Mhm. So what benefits has like living a structured life brought you compared to living a spontaneous life?
Like when I was living a structured life,
Yeah, yeah.
I think the structured life really allowed me to like basically, because I only really worked 9 to 5 for 2 years, because I was more like, because it was in between school and it was only in the summer really. So basically 2 summers I worked a 9 to 5, and I think those 2 summers I actually got in like the best shape of my life,
Okay.
because I was so structured on everything that allowed my diet to be a lot more structured. Where now, obviously, I'm always on the run, busy kind of vibe, or always like, or it's just spontaneous. And because I have more money, I can splurge on things that I used to not be able to, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, I see. So like since you do have the money to splurge on things like you didn't have before, right?
Yeah.
Like what's one thing that you like it's a guilty pleasure for you?
I think this trying steakhouses.
Steakhouses?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, tell me like the best steakhouse that you've tried. It doesn't have to be in Canada. It could be anywhere.
Oh, that's a tough one. So I guess in Toronto, Ruth Chris is definitely my favorite. I just went there like a few days ago for like mine and my fiance's anniversary.
Okay.
That was bomb steak, to be honest.
What do you think about like those like the all you can eat steakhouses like what's it
Like
Copacabana? Yeah.
Copacabana. Copacabana is
Like
one
it's
of my
good or no?
favorite spots.
Yeah.
I like Copacabana a lot. It's not like obviously the highest quality steak versus other ones, but overall, like, I mean, you can never go wrong with the day at Copacabana. Like, I literally went there a few days ago too with one of my friends.
Oh yeah.
Just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, those are the ones where it's like, yeah, it just like, I want it, I got it kind of vibe, you know? Which is a problem sometimes, not gonna lie.
Did you ever have like steakhouses outside of Canada, or
Yeah,
you've only
yeah.
tried the ones in Canada?
Basically everywhere I go, I usually get steak.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to steakhouses, really everywhere. The worst one was Winnipeg. Winnipeg had the worst
Wait,
steakhouse.
what was the bad one?
I went there, and it was like I mean, hopefully I'm not trying to expose Winnipeg. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're from Winnipeg watching this right now, but I went there and the steak was just so like dry. Like my boy took me, one of my business partners and one of my best friends, Daniel. He took me there. He's also a barber too on the side, and
Oh really? Okay.
yeah, and he took me there and he's like, bro, this steak's amazing, blah 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 blah. And I went there and it was not amazing by any means.
Did he think it was amazing though? Like he was like,
No,
this
he
is
knew
so good.
it was really bad. I think it was just a day maybe, but the day I went, it was horrible. Like I literally couldn't eat it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So since you've traveled a lot, I'm guessing you're not just like a steak lover. You probably try other different types of foods. What
Yeah.
like where did you visit, and what was your like favorite, I guess, meal from there?
Ooh. Okay, so I've been to so many places, so I can't really like think of too many crazy things, but um, I love foie de gras.
What is that?
That's a duck liver.
Okay.
That's like amazing. So I had that in Budapest. That was probably one of my favorite things I've had. I had that with steak, so it's like a steak side. It was so good, bro. It was one of the best meals I've had, to be honest.
Do you think like Budapest has like the best food from all the places you've been, or
Uh,
just that meal?
that meal was probably one of the best. I think Europe itself, the meat tastes like way better and way more fresh compared to Canada. Like just the quality of meat, water, the quality of food in general in Europe is way better from my experience versus like Toronto, to be honest.
Well, Toronto, so Toronto's not coming with the food.
Yeah, bro. The quality. Well, Canada and the States, to be honest, like the quality. If you go to Europe and you try the food there, you can just taste the quality of the food. Like it just you can just tell the quality is way better.
Hmm. Have you ever been on like those food tours?
Nah,
No,
not to that extreme.
no, not to that extent. Eh? Like
Nah.
when you go on trips, like obviously some might be for work, right? But
Yeah.
like when you go on trips, are you the guy that like stays in a resort type thing, or you like just go and then you just do a whole bunch of different stuff?
I kind of more like experience vibes. My goal is to, if I go somewhere, I want to experience it. Like I don't want to be there just to be in a hotel.
Mm.
Whenever I go, I like to meet the people, interact with the people. And the cool thing is with my network, I have people everywhere, right? So everywhere I go, I have like a bunch of friends, or I guess people I could call friends, and they show me around. Like I went to Colorado, um, and I went on like the best hiking trail ever. It was so crazy. Like we literally walk across a log, like was covered in snow, and then there's like a huge drop underneath it, and then 2 minutes later you walk and it's like summer outside. Like the
Really?
weather, it's like it's basically all four seasons in one hike, and it's a
Mm.
2 hour hike. And you go into like a place where it's full of snow, and then you go to another place where it's beautiful, like 26 degrees.
So what are like some things that you do to like I guess like peace of mind?
Yeah.
Like activities or anything you do like to just I guess relax when
Uh,
you're not working?
yeah, for me, I mean, I play with my dog. That's something that I like to do. Like go for a walk with my dog, play with them. Just sometimes chill, like watch a movie, like watch a show on Netflix here and there.
Mm.
Um, like I find gym, like going for a run at the gym, relaxing. Um, yeah, reading a book. More like, yeah, for me, I like to, as an entrepreneur, a lot of people say you have to work like 12 hours. And in the early stages, it's true, you got to work really hard in the early stages. But for me, now that I've kind of made it to an extent, like I like to have my time spaced very well so I can be consistent. So I do like basically like in the morning, like 9 a.m. to basically noon is always my time.
Mm.
So I always spend time on me, whether it be gym, personal development, like reading books, all that kind of stuff. And then noon/1 to like 9ish is gonna be like time where I can do other stuff. But that morning time is always for me because it's important to have you time in life in general, to be honest.
So how do you balance time with your fiance then?
That's hard sometimes. I'm
Oh,
not gonna lie. Like, I mean, if you ask her, she'll say I definitely spend more time with her.
okay.
But overall, I'm playing. Like overall, the goal is to like at the end of the day, we both know our goals are for the future, and she has big goals as a entrepreneur herself too. But she does businesses with me as well and her own things. So I think the cool thing about us as a relationship is we both understand where we both are in life, and we both respect it, and we're able to communicate enough so we have time for ourselves, but also time for each other along the way, which is I think the most important thing in a relationship is healthy communication, right?
So where do you think relationships in 2024 are going wrong from what you've seen or heard?
Lack of communication, too many potential options because of social media. Like
Okay.
social media, I think makes people feel like they have more options than they really are. And the reality is like it's just a. I mean, I could go on this topic, but I think it's just the quality of guys. Like
What do you
I
mean?
think
What,
I think the quality.
Oh, like the quality's like downgraded or something?
Yeah, bro. The quality in general is shit. Like, just being real. Like, I think most guys don't have their aspirations right, so they're not able to support a future family, whatever it might be.
Okay.
And most guys are just too lazy or don't even understand what they want to do in life, so they're not able to support a quality woman. And then because of that, a lot of quality women end up kind of losing their quality, um, because I feel like
Oh, so
they're
you think the quality of women has decreased because the guys have decreased?
yeah.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion, but that's a whole different topic.
What? Oh my god. Man.
Yeah,
What do you think about like the club scene, and what do you think that's affected like relationships and like people's standards and
yeah,
everything like that?
yeah. I mean, I think the whole hookup culture itself, right? I think that's a big, not issue, I'd say, but definitely that we have a big hookup culture basically going on, where like basically people think like it's okay to like hook up with random people, and I mean, I went through that phase too. Don't get me wrong. Like I had a bit of like a year of like fuck around phase, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But like I think the biggest thing is like understanding where you are and understanding like your value. I think is really important. And like as a person, as a human being, like one of the biggest things and the most sacred things is like obviously like sex and hooking up, right? So like I think the club scene just really promotes a very hookup culture, and I think in today's world you got to be very smart with what you're doing. I guess you could say, for lack of a better word.
So in what ways do you think like social media has like negatively influenced like just like the way like people like go around life these days?
Well, I think social media gives people the the mentality that they have way more options than they really do.
Okay.
I think social media gives people this false sense of um, basically how the world works. Like I think people think that like oh they because people just celebrate their successes, not their journey. So I think a lot of times people are looking at it like oh I can be successful, this guy's successful, but they don't realize the hours and the dedication it took for someone like myself and other people that are successful to actually get to the level we're at today. And I think that's a massive issue in today's world, where people like don't really understand that. They just see that and people like to highlight. Basically, people like to show the highlights, but not what it took to get there. If that makes sense.
Like from your like opinion, like since you've definitely met a lot of people, you've definitely been around for a long time, like social media, as you see like a lot of people like to like show off their lifestyle and everything like that.
Yeah,
Like what percentage of those people are actually like living like a nice lifestyle? From what you think, like
most are fake.
yeah.
Yeah, like
How do you
I
tell? Like how do you know? Like when you meet the person.
I think the biggest thing really is like unless it's part of your business, people people that feel the need to show off usually are the least successful. If that makes sense. Like people that feel the need to like show people what's good. And I understand in the beginning stages you're like you need those trophies, which is cool because like the beginning stages I know for me like I like having my trophies because I feel like I earned it. Like my chain, for example, is like a trophy of mine that I felt like I earned just for my career. But the reality is like a lot of people are just like constantly in that place of this showing off to fill a void, um, because they're not successful, you know. And it's the people that like you see the people that talk the most or do the most. They're usually the people that like need the money the most, you know,
Mm.
and they want to be that. And that's what happens a lot in like even like obviously one of the industries I'm in is like the network marketing space, and that happens a lot in that space, bro. Like
Posing? Wait,
yeah,
really?
like a lot of people just like fake the results, fake the lifestyle, fake everything just to attract to their business, which
Like
uh,
fake screenshots?
yeah, like fake results, fake everything, use demo accounts to trade, like it just doesn't make sense because eventually you get exposed, right? The reality is like the truth always comes to light, and I think a lot of people don't really understand that. So they'll get exposed. They get exposed eventually, and when they do, they just ruin an entire industry. That's a really good industry for people to start entrepreneurship. They ruin other people's careers and lives because it makes people lose trust. Like it's just bad. That's why I even had like ex business partners that did that I had to cut out of my business because there's this fake flexing lifestyles that didn't make sense. You know.
like this is a weird question, but like since like people like that were like faking that lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Like since you were business partners with them, like what effect did that have on you though? If that makes sense.
I mean, one of the business partners that I cut out of my business was someone that I was relatively close with. Like you could say, like he was someone at one point I consider one of my best friends. But at the same time, I could just tell his intentions were pure because he really wasn't willing to put the work in to get to the result. He would work here and there, and he had a strong work ethic when he did. But the reality is, he cared more about the fake result and showing people that you're successful than actually being successful. So I knew that was someone long term I couldn't work with because that just didn't stand with my morals, if that made sense.
How did you know he like cared about that though? Like he verbally told you, or like it was
Like it was just obvious. You could see like the way he acted, how he wanted recognition. He just craved it so much, like to be the guy. Yeah.
So how do you choose business partners wisely, and how do you know if you could trust someone like long term? If that makes sense.
That's actually something that I've always struggled with, to be honest, just choosing people I can trust long term. Because in the business world, like I personally have been snaked multiple times by people that I looked at as family, to be honest. I had people that were living in my house, sleeping on my couches, that snaked me a month or two later, and did some slimy stuff to my business to make money. So at the end of the day, what I look at it is like in the business world, most people are out there for themselves. That's the reality of it. People are in it for money, and you got to separate your personal feelings with business. Business is business, personal is personal. So when I look for someone in business, I look for someone with basically someone that I could call a friend outside of business. To be honest, that's what I really look for in a business partner because there's not many people you can really trust, in today's world.
Why do you think most business partners fall out? I mean, I guess not most, but
I think the problem is when money's involved, bro. Like, why do divorces happen, right? Most divorces are because of money, right? So when you look at that, like, it's the same principle, right? Like, money is a big factor, right? And when money is involved between two people sometimes can go on the wrong path, you could say. Like, money is money, right? At the end of the day, people chase that, right? People live for that. People die for that. So when people are constantly focused on that concept of money, it's sometimes hard, bro. It's sometimes hard.
So like since you've been in the position multiple times,
Yep.
how do you deal with like organizing like equity for the business?
For my business,
Yeah, like with a partner. Like how do you go about dealing with that? Like is it always 50-50 or is it like how do you split that?
it depends on the value you bring, to be honest. Like, I don't really, my current businesses, so like one of my main businesses, we have like me and my two other main business partners have an equal investment or equal share. And then the last one is our like someone who invested into our company, which is like the lowest percentage. You're good. So when it comes down to it, um, you still never fully trust. You just got to understand. You just got to, at least the way I look at it is like, you just got to understand what you're doing is right, and you just got to make sure you stick with your morals, even when sometimes other people don't.
So do you think all business partners eventually fall out or no?
It really depends on what it's built on, and if you like, I think if you have a good enough relationship, yeah. But at the same time, like I said, when money's involved between two people, it's inevitable that there could be problems. Because all it takes is one problem.
So like for people who don't own like actual businesses and they don't know like how an actual business relationship is, like how would you describe it to like someone? Like,
The business world, in a business world, you need to be what I like to call a chameleon. So a good entrepreneur is able to be a shark, meaning like red and hungry at some points. They're able to be a dolphin, which is like the fun, enjoyable side. They're able to be a whale, which is like someone who is very giving and helpful and a team player. And then they also need to be green, which is someone who's intellectual and someone who's able to kind of dot their I's and cross their T's, As a good entrepreneur, you're able to be all three. That's what good entrepreneurs are able to do, or all four, sorry. Good entrepreneurs are able to be a mixture of everything, right? They can be money hungry and chase the bag when they need to. They could be giving and caring when they need to as well for the people. They can be fun and spontaneous and have a good time when they need to. And then finally, they can be the intellectual, smart ass guy that basically does every little information, checks everything over to make sure everything is successful.
Mm. So, are all those animals supposed to make a chameleon?
Nah, it just like so a chameleon just means a mixture of all the colors, and then like those animals were just like one way of describing them.
Okay.
I don't know. I was just coming up with animals
Okay.
that made sense. Like a shark is aggressive, like a dolphin's like playful fun, and then a whale's like takes care of the other animals.
Yeah.
It was just an analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you were gonna switch places with like someone right now, who would you switch places with, and why?
Yeah, that was a good question. I mean, honestly, like my my answer right now is no one, just because.
I knew you were gonna say that. Bro.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm happy where I'm at. Like I don't have any like. There's nothing in my life that I would change right now if I could.
Mm.
Like I can't really think of a piece of my life that I would change. Just being real.
But like, let's say you go back, like, who would you switch places with?
Because the thing is, what I notice is people that I know that are more successful, have more problems, right? So I feel like when you get to certain levels, you have more problems. If I had to switch place somewhere, maybe I would go back and switch places with like 2017 me.
No, you can't. It can't be
It
you.
can't be
Bro.
me anymore.
No,
Okay.
it can't be you.
So,
Bro.
but who would I want to be? Like I thought, like I would want to be. Who would I want to
He's someone
be?
you've always wanted to be, bro. It could be like a famous baseball player.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I don't want to be any of them. If he's not anymore, because like for example, I want to be a baseball player, but like it's like if you think about it, 162 games a season, like there's so much.
162?
Yeah, that's how many games they play.
Holy shit.
It's a lot.
They play like.
Yeah, the freedom isn't what I would want it to be. I guess if I really had to switch, I'd probably switch places with like someone like Patrick Mahomes, like NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Just because football has been my favorite sport. Like obviously baseball is my best sport, but football is my favorite sport. He has the same birthday as me.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like a year before me, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, he has like basically, for the most part, the life that I would want. But even then, a little pieces I don't like is like the too much clout, too much like, because I wouldn't want to be too much of a celebrity, you know? Like I like kind of where I'm at now, where in my niche, I'm known. Outside of my niche, I'm a no one. I like that.
So what are some problems that come with like too much popularity?
I think the freedom, bro. Like at the end of the day, the goal of my life has always been freedom.
Okay.
I've always wanted as much freedom as possible out of a job, out of a profession. I've always wanted freedom, you know? And I think when you get too known, you don't have the freedom to live your life, which is the problem. Like I'd rather be making 100K a year with less freedom than making 5 million a year with more freedom, you know?
Like the other way around?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I meant. My bad. But
It's okay, bro.
yeah, that kind of vibe. I'd rather have all the freedom in the world, basically, than have all the money in the world.
So let's say like money is not a thing anymore, right?
Yep.
And like you never have to like worry about working or anything. Like work isn't a thing anymore. What do you think you would like want to spend your time doing?
Just more give back. I feel like right now a lot of my time is focused on that. But obviously, I'm still working to make more money and see more success and get to higher milestones. So, if money was a thing, I'd really just commit my whole life to impact. Really, like helping others grow into their full self. That's where I find my most happiness is by helping someone else become the best version of them that they wouldn't have become without my help.
All right, Matthew. So I had a pretty cool question for you.
Yeah.
If you were to say like you had a Mount Rushmore of geniuses, who would you put on there? I think there's 4 spots.
4 spots, eh? So I would take it from like basically different realms in different areas. So like the first one I'll take from like the music side of things,
Okay.
which would be like someone like Drake. And the reason why I would say that is because obviously as a musician and just the things he does, just so smart with the time. Like I've got a chance to connect with a few people in the OVO brand, and it's just genius really some of the stuff he does in the music space to really always stay relevant and always stay on top, just like the music he does, the beefs that happen, the things, the news pieces that come out on purpose, obviously. It's really smart the way he does that. So that's from the music side of things. From the entrepreneurship side of things, I really like the way someone like Grant Cardone does his things.
Okay.
Just because of how he really, I mean, at the end of the day, like I admire people that are able to make things work, right? And I think the way he made his entrepreneurship business work from really nothing is insane. The real estate portfolio he built, and so on and so forth, I think is really surreal and crazy. From the athletic perspective, I'll probably take two from athleticism just because of um, what they've done. So I would say like someone like Tom Brady and then
Okay.
someone like LeBron James. And the reason why those two people are on mine because they're both athletes and they created a business off their athleticism by becoming entrepreneurs, giving back, helping the community, and so on and so forth.
One more spot, I think.
So that would be mine. My four. Oh, I put Tom Brady and thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
together, so Tom Brady and LeBron James. So I think those four would be the people like kind of I look up to in terms of what they've done and how they really diversified themselves properly.
All right, Matthew. So for those who are watching at home, I just want you to give a final piece of advice to those who are trying to be successful or achieve their goal in some way.
Honestly, bro, I think it really comes down to consistency. The reality is, today's system, if you want something more, you got to go out there and chase it, right? If you want different, you got to be different. So make sure if you're trying to be successful in today's world, you're consistent what you do and you do things different than everyone else.
Awesome. So do you think that it's possible to be successful if it's just like a one-time success type of thing, or you don't think that exists?
Yeah, you can definitely be successful after one time. But the reality is, if you want sustained success, you can be successful for a year, 6 months, whatever it might be. Sustained success comes with consistency and dedication to your craft, like what my boy's doing over here.
Awesome. So guys, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And guys, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.